Numbers in Spanish are pretty straightforward. And what I like about them is if you've never studied Spanish before, you've probably at least been exposed to some numbers. So today we're going to focus on the numbers from 1 to 100. And to make our lives a little bit easier, we're going to divide them into 3 categories. And within each of those categories, there are a couple exceptions of which we need to take note. When we're working with the numbers 0 to 15, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And going all the way down to 14 and 15, they work just as you see them right there. So if you wanted to say, I have 12 chickens, I don't know, do you have 12 chickens? I don't, but let's just say I did. I would say tengo 12. Let's make them little chickens. Oh, forgot my S on there. But maybe really what I'm looking for is I'd really like 5 more hens. And so here we're using our numbers 12 and we're number 5 to talk about how many of something that we have. When we're working with the numbers 0 through 15, there is one number in particular that we need to pay particular attention, and that is the number 1. So if we are counting, for example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get to that number 1, we will just say uno. Where it changes is if instead of saying I have 12 little chickens and I'm looking for 5 more hens, what if you say I have 1? Little chick, and I am looking for 1 more hen. So the difference here is that when we are before a masculine noun, our uno will change to un. And when we are before a feminine noun, our uno will change to una. Our numbers 16 through 29 are also pretty straightforward. But what's different here is they're written as one word. And I know some of you out there have probably seen this where you write these numbers as 3 words, but this is an acceptable way to go. And so this number here, 16, 16, is actually, if we break it down, 10 plus 6. So 10 6. But we write it as just one word. 17, 18, 19, and then we get to 20. And again, we're going to write these as one word. 20 plus 1 for 21. 20 plus 2 for 22. All the way down to 29, which would be 20 plus 9. There is, however, when we're working with these set of numbers, one exception to the rule, and that's going to be when we're working with the number 21. If we are counting 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, that 21 right there, a counting number, will be just as we have it written. 21. But remember the previous example when we said I had hens or little chickens? So let's go back to that example, and if we said I have, and we want to say 21 little chicks, that uno will change to an un. And we will put on an accent. So our 21 will change to a 21 before a masculine noun. But I'm looking for 21 hens. That uno that we have up here will change to an una. So when we have 21, our uno will change to an una before feminine nouns. So our numbers 16 through 29 are pretty straightforward. We write them as just one word, and the one that we have to look out for is 21. Finally, when we're looking at our numbers 30 through 100, we're going to write those as three words. So we have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And if we wanted to write 31, we would write that as 30 plus 1, so 30 y uno, and we'll write that as three separate words. So what would 32 look like? 30 y dos. 75. Well, that would be 70 and 5. 75. The numbers that we have for 30 to 100 are pretty straightforward, but there is one that we need to look out for, and that's when we get up past 100. It changes just a little bit. So if we have exactly 100, we have CIEN. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I count all the way to 100, or I say I have 100 chickens, CIEN. But when we get past 100, we're going to use the word ciento instead. So 101 is 101. But if you notice, after the word ciento, we don't use an E. So we have 101, but we wouldn't write that E in there. So what would 156 look like? Well, we're up past 100, so it's not CIEN. So we will have ciento. And then how do we say 56? Well, that would be 50 plus 6, so 50. And 6. 56. 56 is a normal number, so it takes its E. We don't use the E when it's after the ciento. Our numbers 30 through 100 are pretty standard. Just have to go through and memorize the 30, 40, 50, 60, and remember we write them as three words. When we get to 100, it's just a little bit different. Exactly 100, CIEN. And then anything more than that, that CIEN changes to ciento. And we remember that after ciento, we don't use the E. So using our numbers in Spanish are pretty straightforward. Take one category at a time, practice it, and once you get good with these, we'll move on to some of the higher numbers. Go out and try some and let me know how you do. Suerte!